afternoon, everyone. I'm Venkat Perla. I am into building 3D printers and automated robots, and I'm today here going to be talking about synchronized robots. Now, when I say the word robot, the first picture that comes to my mind is what I've seen in movies. So in most of the cinema, when I talk about a robot, this is what I see. This is a humanoid robot. This has four limbs, and this mimics the actions of a human, right? But in real world, these robots are very less used. You don't see these often because for most applications, these are not as good as humans are. Now, this is the industrial robot arm, and this is by far the most popular robot you will ever find. This can do everything a man can do, but it does it better, bigger, and faster than a man. How better is? It does it more precisely. It does it bigger. A man can maybe lift 10, 15 kilos. This can lift a ton. If and again it does it more fastly. The overall work time taking for this is much less. But there's one thing where this lacks a lot, and that man is very good at. That is collaboration. When this single robot arm is working, it does not collaborate like man. Only man is able to do that. And when we talk about collaboration or working in a group, one thing that comes in mind is an orchestra. An orchestra, if you're unaware, is just a group of people coming together and playing music. And every individual person plays different music, but together they make a symphony. Similarly, robots cannot easily function like that. But on the right, you see an image where multiple robots are functioning. This is because they are pre-programmed. For example, I'll just give an example. What is the difference between these? You can consider a music band. A music band usually only has 3 to 4 people or maybe 5 people, and all the musicians in the band, they practice a lot, and then when they perform really well. But during performance, if you remove one of the musician and exchange them with another person, usually there is a very likely chance that the whole band would fail. This is because they've practiced a lot together. So any change, any unknown change, can make the whole thing fall apart. Similarly, these robots, which are used in factories for decades now, especially in the automotive industries, those kind of robots have been used for a lot of time. And let's just say in this whole manufacturing line, where 20, 30 robots are being used, one robot is added for new, or one robot is removed. The whole manufacturing line comes to a halt. It is unable to cope up to new changes. And this is where the new technology, what I'm talking about, synchronized robots, that is where coming in. This is very new tech. Now, this is robots in harmony. Why I say this is, again, coming back to the orchestra example, all of these people in the orchestra, right? You can add a new musician just like that, and usually, most of the time, the orchestra still produces a good symphony. This is because in an orchestra, you find a man with holding 2 sticks and waving his hands in the air. It is usually funny if you look at it, but he is called the conductor, and he is responsible for producing the music by using each and every musician. Similarly, when I talk about synchronized robots, we have automation, which acts like a conductor. And let's just say, instead of pre-programming a whole robot, robots using automation can cope up to any changes in real time always. Now let's just talk about a few applications of synchronized robots to understand this more clearly. Multi-robot systems. So this is an autonomous drone, and this is slightly different than a normal drone. This is how. This is having multiple sensors which allow it to first be deployed in any place, and after that it can accomplish its task in most scenarios. It can change. It can adapt to its environment. One such area is landmines. Especially in the last couple of years, due to wars being raged, landmines have again become a huge problem. And detecting landmines and removing landmines is actually more expensive and more difficult than deploying a landmine itself. So, and if you're trying to, detect a landmine and removing a landmine, the process is very dangerous for a person to go and do it. Because while detecting a landmine, if a person steps on a landmine, if he triggers a landmine, it will usually be fatal. A person going in to an unknown environment, we can send a single drone or a swarm of drones. We can send 10, 15 drones. And these drones are synchronized. Let's say we send in 15 drones, and 2 of the drones have a flight path where they cross each other, which might lead to a crash. But these are synchronized. So what they mean is they have technologies which allow them to communicate with each other. And if they think that they're going to crash, they will automatically alter it on the fly. Pre-programming is not required. They will automatically detect a crash and stop. And another area where this is very useful is search and rescue. Let's say in natural disasters like earthquakes, landslides, in such cases, helicopters going into places where it is not easy for a person to go in. Helicopters can go in, but usually it is very expensive, and some weather conditions even helicopters can't go in. So smaller drones such as these can be deployed, and instead of one helicopter going in, it is more affordable and cheaper and easier to send in 10, 15, or 20 helicopter drones. Sorry, send in 20, 15 drones and immediately scan a place and immediately find the solution needed. Another area is mining and logistics. Now, mining, as you may be aware, is going underground into the earth to get some resources. And usually, mines, right, are very dangerous places, especially while being constructed. While making a mine, which is hundreds of feet underground, while a single person has to go in, see there if there is enough resource, he has to do an estimation, and then a whole mine will be constructed. And before the construction of the mine, it is very, very unsafe for the first person to go. In these kind of areas, drones can be sent. Not just drones need not be flying drones, but they can be under submergible drones which go underwater, or even terrain tracking drones which can go inside the terrain. This video you see here is actually a logistics drone. So this is just in a warehouse. This is happening, but the same can happen inside an underground mine where the robots are fully automatic. There is no human intervention required because going for a human to go inside a mine is actually quite dangerous. So for an automated robot to go in and take the job which is unsafe for a human to do, this is a much more useful and a easier way and a more safer way. Again, one more area where robots, especially swarm robots. Now, swarm robots are basically multiple robots, not just one or two, maybe 20, 30, 50, or 100 robots working together continuously. Now, when I talk about robots, right, most of the time they're very, very expensive. But especially in India, agriculture, where agriculture is said to be the backbone of India in the Indian economy, and obviously in India agriculture is very budget constrained. Economy is a huge matter. There a multi-million dollar robotic system, it cannot be used simply because of the cost. But today I can say that there are many farms in tier 3 cities, tier 3 villages, where they are using swarm robots to do agriculture. That is where pesticide spraying is being done. So usually when a farmer sprays pesticide in a farm, right, what happens is he ends up spraying, because first of all the pesticides are very toxic. They have to cover themselves. It is very unsafe for a person to go in. And while spraying as well, it is uneven. So what ends up happening is excess pesticide is being sprayed. That is obviously more expensive. And one more problem is it is not safe for humans, right? Excess pesticides. So what drones do is they are very, very accurate and precise. So drones will fly over just over the farm, spray pesticide everywhere, wherever it is necessary. So excess pesticide is not sprayed, it is sprayed uniformly. And usually the cost of renting a drone and spraying pesticide is much less than the excess pesticide sprayed by humans. So it is more economically feasible, and it is viable for every farmer in India to use a drone, use safely and use pesticides. Another area where this is used is oil pipelines. So you might imagine, right? Oil has to travel hundreds of kilometers sometimes, and monitoring this pipeline for any damages is a very scheduled and rigorous process. It has to go every day, twice a day. So instead of a person going and checking it, and if a human is involved, usually human error is a huge probability of occurring. So when a robot is, doing the surveillance on the pipeline, it is more easier to make sure that damage is found earlier. Again, this is how a swarm of drones are usually spray pesticide in a farm. That is about it. Again, now when we're talking about robots, obviously social impact is a huge thing when we're talking about any new trending technology. In this case, the first thing, as earlier said as well, social impact, the main is the loss of jobs. People are very, very, let's just say, scared that when a robot comes in and takes their job, they will be losing their livelihood. So for that, first thing is their jobs are getting displaced. So as said earlier as well, low skill jobs will be the first ones to go to robots. But this also means that controlling robots, developing robots, new jobs are being created. So what happens is low skill jobs are getting displaced to a higher skilled or a more skilled jobs. One more area, reason for social anxiety is the safety. Let's if we have a metric ton robot working nearby, it is very, very scary for me to work next to it, because one wrong move by the robot and I'll be in grave danger. One more area is privacy concerns. When robots are working together, they'll be connecting a lot more data. And a lot more data could also lead to a data breach, which is again a huge privacy concern. And last, what I want to talk about is the future. I don't have anything on the slide because I simply cannot predict what would the future of robots be. In the past 1 year to 1 to 2 years, you might have been aware that AI has been, taking over the world. It has been creating new job opportunities and closing down old job opportunities. So it is just not, predictable what robots can do in tomorrow. Economy of using a robot is also coming down, so robots will be entering the market soon, much more into our homes as well. But there are also social challenges which needs to be overcome. But I know I can say at the end is we are entering into an exciting new world. Thank you everyone.